and then you're going to read it.
The hum could have been of a distant diesel engine or a far-off fairgrounds generator, and almost a low, almost living thud-thud chug, thud-thud chug. A machine from a bygone era, an organism of pipes and pistons, flowing veins of oil, plosive bursts of a mechanical heart. It was the sound that seemed to be drawn more from biology than mechanics. Thud, thud chug, thud, thud chug, and then it was still. And in its place the small sounds came back, the far-off voice of someone unconcerned with the darker spaces. A distant duck unflustered by human affairs, the rising chatter of day-to-day life that fills the nooks and crannies of existence. If this hadn't been the place, if this hadn't been the time, both of them would have left. Instead they stood unsure, each waiting for the other to take the first step. Either forward or back, it almost didn't matter. Ahead of them a blue door hung half open, half fading into a deeper darkness beyond. A cold, damp, mouldy breath of air whispered out. She felt like she should swallow hard like people in the films did. Instead she wiped her palms on her jeans and said, "Right then, gents first." He looked at her and swallowed hard, and stepped through the peeling archway. The dust and damp hugged the back of his throat with each breath, more a taste than a smell. It clung to the walls on the floor and the ceiling. Blinking eyes began to make out sepian shapes in the gloom. Peeling walls, leaking gently, opened out into what looked like it had perhaps been a doctor's waiting room or the foyer of a paper factory. Municipal and bland, once wiped clean but now covered in years of neglect. The space was lit at intervals by electric strip lights that flickered and whirred and popped. Their footsteps crunched through years of decay and dust. It did not seem like the sort of place that a scholar would work. The industrial pipework lagged in decay, creaking in the distance, all somehow sad and settled into a cancerous malaise. They moved forward, shoulder to shoulder. Closer than would have been comfortable even pre-pandemic, but the warmth of touch reassured both and they were glad of it. With a pop, the lights swell and die. They pause, muscles tense, the desire for flight shivering from nape to toes. Ahead, a door swings open, a soft amber path slid slowly along the floor. "Hello?" The voice is soft too and stammers slightly, the sort of middle-class stutter that pre-guesses itself with each thought. "Claire, John, is that you? Come in, come in. The faculty is too much for me to maintain on my own, I'm afraid. The days of staff and funding are long gone. Please come now. It's much warmer and less, well, creepy in here." Claire and John slowly exhale and step forward, feeling the warmth flowing from the doorway. Then both pause again. Somewhere ahead, whistling is rising to a scream. "Blast the kettle!" The figure bolts back beyond the threshold and the screaming stops. Claire and John look at each other and laugh nervously. Together they step through the door and into the light. That's the end of the first section.
Change the shot. I'll read the second. What? Oh, or not?
Yeah, I think you should. I was just, I've only started to go through. I've only gone through the first two or three, which I've started to change it, and it might make less sense now than it did the other day. But
This bit, Walton fell, yeah?
from that line.
Walton fell. Pleased to meet you both. Walton's voice drifted from behind a mountain of books and stacks of documents piled high across a desk that looked like it had once been expensive and very possibly old. Walton's head popped up. "Milk? Sugar? Excuse the mess. I've been rather preoccupied." The walls of the room were lined with rows upon rows of leather-bound books, a mixture of scientific texts and literary classics, spanned every wall and stretched from the ceiling to the floor. Interspersed with the bookshelves, collections of gears and cogs seemed to form almost human shapes, small and indistinct. On one shelf, a tired-looking brass monkey with cymbals clasped in green paws. In another corner, a cage of peeling gold, and within it a dusty approximation of a chaffinch regarded the floor with one lifeless eye. In the far corner, a spiritual staircase swept up to the ceiling and disappeared out of sight. Walton's appearance was that of a man who had spent many years with his nose deep within some dusty tome or student thesis. He had the look and smell of an ex-Oxbridge scholar, all wiry hair and crumpled jumpers over rumpled collars. But there was a twinkle in his eye that spoke of things yet unsaid and stories yet untold. "You'll be wondering why we invited you here. Well, I hope we will be able to help each other. Have a seat, have a seat. This, my good fellows, is the last bastion of a project that might have changed the world. We are only aware of what we had in our hands." Bustling from behind the desk, Walton appeared again, 2 teas and tin cups in his hand. One for you and one for you. Sugars? Well, I'm not sure. Somewhere in the table, I'm afraid. He sighs and looks them both keenly in the eye, smiling. He is warm and open, somewhere between Bernard Black and just William grown up. So here we are. Here you are. Welcome. Welcome to my lair. This room, these documents, this is my life's work. This was my final frontier. A space where no idea was off the table, so to speak. Where we were free to experiment and explore, unconfined by watchful eyes, answering to no one. I'll give you a bit of a rundown while we get acquainted and wait for my old friend. Looking at them both, Walton seemed to take in for the first moment they seemed a little uncomfortable and confused. He laughs in a self-conscious but gentle way. It all began in 1997. Things can only get better. Sorry. Where to start? My name is Dr. Walton, and once upon a time I was a regular contributor to Tomorrow's World. Well, my speciality was machine learning and artificial intelligence. My research at the time, if I don't say so myself, was pretty on the edge. I was, I guess you'd say, a future utopianist. I thought that technology would save us all. Well, late in '97, as part of my research fellowship at UCL, I met a young chap named Piotr Frankenstein. We met through the shared love of automatons. You know what automatons are, right? Mechanical objects endowed with life by ingenious means. It was a wonderful time. I spent many hours in this very room, tinkering late into the night with wind-up birds and fortune-telling Turks. My love grew from childhood fascination with magic, with objects that deceive the eye. For him, perhaps, it was more that he wanted to capture something of the living in a creation of his own. That rather sad bird in the cage behind you is one of his early foibles. As Walton speaks, the warmth of the room and the drone of his voice syncopates. John's head is becoming heavy. The urge to sleep almost overwhelms him. Suddenly, Claire's voice cuts through the binding hug of heaviness enveloping him. Didn't you say that, John? Claire sounds as if she's repeating herself. John? What? Didn't you say that we could possibly, the two of us, and how the hell, it's not some sort of catfish thing? And then I said, well, you stay if you want to. I've chatted to the doctor on Zoom, he seems like a nice man. And to be honest, Dr. Walton, we've all spent much of the year inside, so an invitation to come visit you and get out of the house was too tempting to turn down. I think, if you don't mind me saying, Dr. Walton, what is this place and why are we here? It seems like something out of a TV series or something. Walton regarded them both for a long time. His voice is calm and bright with an inquisitive glimmer. Those are exactly the questions why Frankenstein and I wanted to grapple with. Why are we here now? Why now? Why us? Frankenstein brought me here. It was a bizarre experience, almost as strange as it was for you, I imagine. But here was then very different. It was a buzz with technicians and wildly intelligent minds, all funded from somewhere off seas, who were given a strong impression that by asking by whom would be given short shrift. I must confess, I was swept up in it. The excitement, the buzz, the freedom. So far from academia, mind-boggling. And what's more, we were written a blank check. Frankenstein knew more than he let on, I suspect, at the time. I was pushed to one side, so happy for we to be on the razor's edge of progress. And it was thrilling. We were consumed by our task, Faustian in our pursuit, this one philosopher's stone to which we both cleaved. How one might, through science and the application of intellect, stop the hand of death. Walton paused, assessing the faces before him. A ticking clock, far off, seemed suddenly unbearably loud, as if it was counting down to some moment he knew had passed already. My own interest was purely academic. If memories are but a series of binary choices programmed into the mind of a living computer, if consciousness is a mystical and revered element we hold out to be, surely, if one could build a machine of great enough power, would we not be able to replicate this process, to save our consciousness into a system unencumbered by the organic decay that catches up with us all eventually? Would this system not become indistinguishable from the human mind? Truly indistinguishable. Not a Turing test beating facsimile, but something more. For Frankenstein, it's personal. For him, it was something that drives him to sleep no more than 1 hour a night, and haunts his waking days. The guilt was writ large on him. He blamed himself, you see. Accident. Walter was lost in the memories of something that caused him visible pain. A sound above caused him to train their nets. Standing on top of the staircase, a figure dressed in all black appeared. More eyes and clothes and distinguishable features. Of an ageless man, pale complexion and intensity. He spoke softly, with purpose. This was so much.